V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just
able to impose any information on the brain of a person, presumably by some kind of waves, which in the mind take the form of voices, thoughts, and images in imagination. In addition to this kind of implanting information that they need, they manipulate the psyche so that the information is written into your memory. Then by stimulating the certain regions in the brain, they can retrieve this information and present it as your own memory. This is the conclusion that can be made judging by the influence they have been making on me with their psychotronic weapons, for example artificial thoughts, imagination, and mental torture.
End my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know.
to as malodorants. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted.
Human breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds.
So you just heard the things that always bring up. It's obvious they have these patterns of tormenting and torture. For me, it's been the most disturbing things I've been enduring. And they're like, now we matched it, we mapped it, we do it. Like, they do this. I'm a target individual, just like these people you just heard. Target individuals, we are human subject. And human subject in a program where the government is utilizing this extremely sophisticated technology that really manipulated us in so many ways. TIs, a lot of them talks about gang stalking and V2K, synthetic telepathy. Some just get one version, but not both. But a lot of target individuals do get, the target, the gang stalking and the V2K and synthetic telepathy. And V2K, gang stalking obviously is when, there's a bunch of people following you, doing like things to just kind of make sure they're being seen, like stalking you. It's not really stalking you, just to stalk you but like they want you to see them as they do these things, right? They want to be seen following you. They just to create a psychological fear or anxieties, and it's just to try to get you to feel anxious that somebody so because if you want to stalk somebody, you want to be like careful and you want to be like like you don't want to be seen, which is it could be easy to be done, but they want to be seen, so they're like pretend like they like that's the gang stalking. And then there's the V2K. It's funny, my brain, they try to create this logic things. And there's V2K, synthetic telepathy, when it becomes the technology that you experience as a target individual that can do so much to you. Not only, and of course, I also get the direct energy weapons, the DW, and the DO, I think. And the DAW, and that's when they use their direct energy and just aim that towards you and do horrible things to your body, organs and radiation. Organs are radiated, and so much things are happening to your body. And so for me, the psychological torture has been the most tiresome, draining, Obviously now I'm getting also the physiology aspect of what they do to my body. My gastro, my bones, my gastro, like my intestinal area, all that just being destroyed. So my organs, kidney, livers, glands, joints, actual bones, like teeth. Those are all seeing the impact of what they do to me. But psychologically, the drain, the tires, the depletion of energy is applied, and they are just manipulate your thoughts to get in these disturbing ways. You heard previously what you just heard. You heard it before. They do these pedophilia things that are disturbing. But with me, they try to be like, no, we just mapped it to you at some point of your life. We made you start thinking the way you think when you were whatever age, and some of the ages as young as 9, 12, and just turn 13, 14, around that time. I say, no, we mapped it. Remember when you were 12 years old at this New Year's party? Remember when you saw that little girl? Remember how you reacted? To make me experience these things. I'm like 12. And it's not even just 12. I'm somebody who just turned 12 like 2 months ago, right? So just fresh 12-year-old. Remember when? And so sometimes, like when I look at like a 12-year-old and imagine myself saying like, remember when what you thought, how you felt like this. When looking at grown men, it's like, remember when you were a kid like that, you saw these things like that, and I see that's proof that today this is what you're experiencing is something that you experienced that time like that. So you see, we mapped it. It's just illogical, especially when you heard what you just heard. That these people are systematically doing this pedophilia type of torture. And it's obvious that they force you to experience what you experience. What you hear is not some people that are paid to say that. I did not ask them to say that. This was said before I was a target individual, before I experienced the V2K, and before I even knew what target individual was, before it was a world I was even aware of. And it's so disturbing. They bring like, and it's so nasty, and like in this childlike, they like to use childlike individuals, perps, because one thing you have to understand, for a grown man or grown woman to dumb themselves down to that level, it must be tiresome to make yourself this stupid when you're not. The level of like self-trickery to get you to make somebody believe these manipulations is just something I should make sense of in that way. That they are not manipulating my brain in this way, but I should think that it makes sense to think that what they're doing is just making me think the way I used to think when I was a child. Should even make sense, right? That I should ignore the fact they do the pedophilia type of torture, but somehow they've mapped my brain, and I should understand that makes sense, that they will make me think like a child, and they're not manipulating even my memories because there's not something they do. Everything has been said before. What you just heard are things that was said before 2019. Some of the memory manipulation said in 2007. But somebody in a different, because we know this is a global thing. Wherever I go, it will follow me. And the things are done systematically all around the world, and we're all saying the same thing. That's how you should know that this is systematically done by these governmental entities. And it's global. And it's very specific and very systematic. Like textbook. I can say something, somebody across the world can say the exact same thing. And you think like, what? That's insane. Okay, somebody's saying exactly the same. It's like one person said, it's almost surreal. And so they manipulate even your memory in my childhood to give me the reaction they want me to have. So when today they gave me have me have this reaction, so no, we mapped it. It's like, doesn't even make sense. You understand? Like, do you understand that you just try to say that what you make me feel is something I should subscribe to because you say that I felt like that when I was 12? This is crazy. And then because they try to create patterns. Listen, I did a stupid thing, and as I'm speaking about it, and as I'm talking about it, they are playing with my rectum, my arousals, because they're trying to make me think as a child, right, and make me relive this memory with the stimulation and giving me in real time sexual stimulations to disturb me and to be like, you see, we mapped it. You see, you felt like that because you're feeling this right now. And because they're trying to create patterns that are non-existent and try to make you be subscriptive of this. When I was in 8th grade, just turned 14 years old, there's some stupid thing I did, and it will happen only once, right? Which shows that there's just the impulsiveness of a child who just did something stupid. Now, what they're trying to do is to find ways to make you subscribe to this. It's like, no, but remember, in 2000 you felt like that. Like 13 years old. No, when you're 12 years old, you felt like this thing, this. And they changed my memories to try to create something. And making me have even arousal in real time. To make me subscribe to the falsified memories. Where they have at these things in my childhood. And it's so far. And so in my brain, you hear this childlike individuals that they use, because this child says something about, at 3-4-year-old, and that's because they want me to think of the falsified memories they made me have when I was 12 or 13 years old, and just try to make me think of the stupid thing I did to myself as a child when I was like just turned. In 2001, just turned 14, not even 14, like maybe about to be 14 or just turned 14. And I'm like, first of all, they torture 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old babies. The 3, 4, 5-year-old, 7-year-old, they torture them sexually. You're gonna hear that next. You're gonna hear what they do to children. It is nasty. And they want you to accept these manipulations, the falsified memories, the current experience you're getting, and say we're making you think the way you think when you were a kid. You see, that's proof, that's patterns. It's like, what? Did you just hear what patterns are? You have falsifying memories to create a pattern. You are trying to block out the fact that you do these things you just heard. This thing you just heard before me. Show the clear patterns that they do the peripheral type of torture. And to counter that, they tell me how I'm going to be screaming. Because the thing is, they like to diverge. It's very like brainwashy. It's systematic. It sounds very CIA-ish. like, like they will say something like, what I'm talking about, they torture 3-4-year-old. It's like, you'll be castrated. Because I said they tortured 3-4 years old kids. And because they want to diverge from that, they say, you're going to be talk about whatever torture I'm going to experience. To block out the fact that I'm saying that I know they tortured 3, 4, 5, 7-year-old kids, even sexually. And that's the things they try to do. Countering the reality. Blocking reality. But there's no escaping. There is no torture that will change this reality. There's no amount of screaming, crying, whatever I'm going to experience that's going to block out the reality of things. I just don't want them to escape in the meantime. They're going to do these things to me knowing when the time comes. You heard it. You thought me screaming, me yelling, crying because I'm in pain was going to change anything about what you're part of. They try to compensate from the reality of what I just said. That they do the peripheral type of torture is done systematically. That they hurt children sexually. We're talking about 3, 4, 5-year-old kids. And they even, the tactics of using these psyops where you think, oh, maybe it's the next door neighbor who's even that. Trash. There is no escaping reality. So, what you're gonna see next? What you're gonna see next is the picture of where they say they mapped it to. There's pictures of me when I was a child. After you just heard what you just heard, then you heard what they do to children. Because these trash are lowlifes.
Children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, "Ow," while looking up at me.
And have had a decent
2K. So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.